We all have something that makes us a hypocrite. Me, I'm about to go on a rant about how awful social media is on a podcast, which I broadcast through social media on this episode of the Scho-Zone. All right, everybody, welcome to the Scho-Zone. I am your host, Ryan Schofield, coming at you live from the DeGensen on a rare Saturday night recording. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. We already got a few people in here. Tell a friend, like, subscribe, comment, share, all of that douchebag stuff that podcast hosts like myself say. And we're going to be even douchier than douchier on this episode because I'm going to be basically being a hypocrite this entire time. I'm going to talk about some things that are on my mind that I am probably guilty of, but I'm going to project some things I probably don't like about myself, not even necessarily onto you in the audience, although I think this applies to everybody, but to anybody that listens, or I guarantee somebody that we know. Again, thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe, comment, share. I'll be watching in the background here. I've got a little bit of degenerate action going on. I've got the Guardians and the Angels playing on a Saturday night here. If you want to go over to my TikTok, that's right, I have a TikTok now. God, I feel like a douchebag even just saying that. I'm going to be fucking 40 in like a month. And I just promoted my TikTok page. But I have my MLB 2 plays a day. Almost profitable this year. Probably better at picking baseball than you are, or it's the one thing that, I don't have the time to watch sports like I used to. Thankfully, baseball is one of those games I just know the league well enough and I know how to analyze well enough that I'm not going to get rich doing it, but I'm probably better than you are at picking them. And that's where I guess I'll just bring this off here is that, all I do on my TikTok is I post 2 MLB picks a day. I have right now at this exact moment, I have a 500 record and I'm down a like less than a half a unit, I think what we would call whatever, a unit being a standard size bet for the layman who doesn't gamble, which is fine. I mean, it's my hobby. It's my activity. It's my pastime. I just like to put it out there because, it's just something to do. That's really what it all comes down to. And that's we're going to go with this as social media. It's all just something to do. We should probably all find something better to do. But again, I'm the hypocrite here. I am hoping that you are watching this on social media and I'm going to share it and I'm going to broadcast it out there and hope that plenty of other people watch it and see it. And that one is not coming back. We got ourselves a home run by Carlos Santana. So Guardians are up 1-0. So if you were following me, well, you would have lost my earlier pick, but hey, who cares? We're winning right now on this one. It's only the first inning of a baseball game. A lot can happen, but feels good at the moment anyways. But yeah, so I just went out there and I post my 2 baseball plays a day. It is what it is. I may try to make a little bit of, commentary about it, what happened the day before, why I like what I like, maybe I throw a joke in here and there. More times than not at my own expense. I have no problem laughing at myself. I don't take myself too seriously. Again, maybe it's conditioned when you're born like 5'7" with red hair. You just learn how to have a sense of humor about life. That's the hand I was dealt. Got to make the most of it, Doyle Brunson, 10-2 offsuit, not a great poker hand, but if you play it right, you can be the champion. So that's a pretty lofty comparison. I just put myself in the same category as Doyle Brunson, but yeah, I have people the other day. I go back and forth. I have 1-1 days, 0-2 days, 2-0 days. It's all fun. I had somebody that, because I went 1-1, they were telling me I need to retire. Why? You just don't have to follow me. I mean, this has been a whole thing I've had with realistically anybody that ever doesn't like anything I say or do on this show. Just don't pay attention to me. Unfortunately, though, the way that people are wired, we don't do that. I'll never forget. Probably have brought this up on a previous episode before. If you've been listening the entire way through, well, you've probably heard me even say it a million more times. I always think back to, which is even hilarious to think that I used to really care for this guy, or I used to actually, like him a lot, but I think about the Howard Stern Private Parts movie. And there's that whole famous scene with the producer that he has where they ask him, the average Stern listener, they're going through the ratings numbers with him. And they say that the average Stern fan listens for I'm paraphrasing right now, a half an hour a day. And the reason most commonly cited was, I want to hear what it'll say next. Then they find out that the average Howard Stern hater, and again, paraphrasing, listen for an hour and a half a day. And then the producer who can't stand Howard Stern, who wants to get rid of him, is asked the question, going, if they can't stand him, why are they listening to him? And the reason most commonly cited was, I want to hear what he'll say next. So I encourage, whether you hate me, whether you like me, your views all count the same. You're all helping things out here. But I just can't help but think, because, you know, I have a job that I'm not going to try to go too much into, but I got a lot of downtime at work. And downtime at work is, I miss back in the day when back downtime at work meant that you sat there and actually thought things through. That was a beautiful time, news would happen throughout the day, and you would catch a little bit of piece of what happened, and you would think about it. So you would think about different aspects of it. You would play both sides of it in your head. Or this is just what I used to do. I might maybe grab a New York Post earlier in the day, and I might read about some news stories, and I would think about it, because ultimately when I would get together in person with people later on in the day, we probably would be discussing it. And I would want to have my ducks in a row, so I didn't sound like an idiot, or I didn't jump the gun about something. I thought before I spoke. It was a wild concept back in the day. I mean, I didn't really do a lot of things. I mean, while I was at work, I would say do that. Now I do. I'll tell you what I do a lot of the time. I am either sitting here thinking about things that I can talk about on a podcast, but then when I'm done with the day, I never really feel like actually hitting record, because, after getting my teeth kicked in all day at work, the last thing I really feel like doing is recording a shitty podcast episode and having people tell me I suck. Today, kind of in one of those don't give a fuck moods. And I'll say that the reason I'm kind of getting brought there is because when I'm not doing that, or when I can't, have, the undisturbed thought, when I just got a quick minute here or there, make a trip to the bathroom or something, after I get caught up on, the text with my fiance, and, the reels that my buddies, send me, because, let's face it now, a lot of friendships now aren't actually conversations. They're just sending reels back and forth. And I mean, like, that's how you can tell who your real friends are. Or I guess you could say you can tell who your real friends are, in the sense of that there are categories of friends, and I have folders saved of different categories of memes. And, you kind of do the whole list of your go-tos, and it's like, okay, that one's not going to fly with that person for this reason. This one's not going to fly with that person for this reason, but I digress. The worst thing that's out there, again, is Twitter. This isn't an Elon Musk thing. It was awful before he got there. Now there's just taking some of the, I guess, the restrictors off of there. I guess now you can have awful thoughts from both sides of the spectrum without anything, being a big deal, I guess. But yeah, it's a real sickness out there, because, again, what are most people consuming all of the time? They're consuming shit that pisses them off. And why are they doing it? I don't know. I mean, it's not because we want to hear, but it's just, I mean, we just want to be, we are now wired to be pissed off. It's the outrage culture in society. I mean, I really, really wish I could just like Back to the Future style, just go back like 10 years ago. Cause I really, really don't remember being like this 10 years ago. Again, granted, most of my life I was living in an alcoholic haze at that point, and I had this awesome perception of the world at the time. I really thought that, it was a good time to be alive. For starters, I don't even think really, for the most part, up until about maybe 2015, maybe 2016 or so, I don't really think that politics was even still an active discussion on social media. Now, that's all that this is. I mean, literally based on your political affiliations, it goes what social media you actually follow and go to, I think, is how this kind of goes right now. All right, we got 4 people in here. Thanks, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that douchebag stuff I like to say. And just like that, I'm not a genius anymore. We've got a tie ball game right now. Home run, Lou Rengifo. It looks like Rengifo. Anyway, back onto the rant here. I actually did have some notes going right now. Let me just try to even make some sense of the brain droppings I put out there, just because I was just one day just really just trying to stay off the social media, which is, again, a terrible sickness that we all have. We're all either addicted to things that are bothering us. We're all addicted to ourselves on there. But let's just see. This is what I wrote to start off with. It's a necessary evil. I have a feeling that people who aren't in social media or aren't on social media, who don't pay attention to the news or don't interact with other people on social media, are probably the happiest people in America. I may have described the prisoner just then, but that's actually what we are as social media users, myself included. So that was kind of prophetic, I guess. I guess I should, that must have been a hell of a trip to the bathroom, I guess I would say. It's where you go to be seen. Whether on one platform or on many, some focus on one, others focus on all of them. One thing I'm trying to do a little more with the podcast is that, trying to be, going out to all the social medias and whatnot. I'm trying to just maybe focus in on one. While I still have this subscription for the streaming service I use right now, which, by the way, I use so infrequently, I don't even recognize half the new little tools on here. Wonderful use of money, Ryan, must say. But I'm really going to start going back to the audio-based thing on this one because back in the day when podcasting started, I started doing podcasting when you had to actually tell somebody what a podcast was. It was all audio. It's all meant to be something that you listen to. There's nothing really to watch for on this one unless you just want to watch a person have a live meltdown, which is kind of what's happening right now, I think. But I don't put forth the effort to make it up for a video product so much anymore. YouTube just seemed like it was a shortcut way of being able to try and earn money. I've kind of given up on that one for the time being. I haven't given up on it eventually being, but it's not something I have in the horizon. I just kind of do this here and there, and occasionally I pick up another subscriber or two, and things look better. If I could commit to putting a little more recording out there, who knows? Maybe something could happen, but got a lot of other shit going on in the life of Ryan right now. I guess actually, we'll still continue the ADHD rant that I'm going on right now while I go back to social media. Speaking of prison, I'm kind of living the opposite of prison right now. So I am engaged. I'm getting married next month, and we'll be moving in together the following month. Circumstances the way they fly. I'm just kind of in this where there are some people that are, waiting for something to happen, or they're waiting for something to happen for their life to change. And sometimes, it's for the negative. Some people are just waiting to get old. It's really sad. I am waiting. I feel like I'm in this purgatory right now where I'm waiting to actually want to live the life that I have chosen. It's like the easiest part about the getting married part was deciding that she was the right one. All right. That was as established a long time ago. The wedding planning and the whole anticipation and the buildup and all the thinking and the logistics of it. That's been I don't want to say a nightmare, but it's just been a lot of stress about all this is about two people deciding that they love each other and spending the rest of their life with each other. But we got to do things a certain way, I guess, in this. Okay. Is that one? Okay. And just like that, I'm an idiot again. That guy's right. Maybe I should have retired. It's now 2-1 Angels. Let's see. Now we've got 3 or 4 conversations going on right now. Can't imagine why I'm not a big success. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to all of that. Now we're going back to the social media rant. There has just become too much content out there. People need to manifest interest in their content. As someone who talks, you have to force content out there almost to some extent. It's one thing where it's doing the podcast, like I said, it almost reminds me of when I started doing stand-up comedy. Everyone thinks because they got 1 or 2 funny jokes and they can make somebody laugh at a party that they could be a stand-up comedian. You're off to a good start, but you got to fill up a bunch of stage time in there. Me, I thought this was a wonderful idea for a podcast. I am just ranting and raving like an idiot right now. Such is life. What else did I have on here? Now, the people that are making a living doing this, I will say hats off to you. I mean, now, unless you're a streamer that just goes around bothering people, which honestly, I have a guilty pleasure of watching videos of bad things happening to you, which maybe is still a slight indictment on my character. But, you think it's an easy living or something like that, or you can make some quick cash on this one. But then once you actually get an audience of things, I had a friend who went viral for something and then he was monetized on TikTok. And then it's like, oh shit, now I've got to constantly produce things to continue to make money. This is kind of hard, So, hats off to people that are doing this and doing this well. You're a lot better than I am. You probably have a better support team and all that stuff, but kudos for you. I can just think of a couple of social media sites that, and just what they were and what they've become. So what I put here was that Facebook. I was on Facebook when it originally started. It was meant for college kids. It was called thefacebook.com. I went to SUNY Brockport, which is in upstate New York for people that aren't from around here or don't know me personally. It was a State University of New York college at Brockport, whatever the hell it is they call them. We were one of the first 100 schools in the entire country to have Facebook. It was fucking awesome at the time. We thought it was. How I was introduced to it, I had a friend that was back from college who went to the University of San Diego. He was on it. I asked him, what's this? His response to me was that this is the thing that's going to ruin everything. Didn't know what he could possibly mean with that. Now, with the very beginning, when it was just college kids, the way I describe it, for lack of a better term, Facebook was nothing more than bros being bros and hoes being hoes. That's what it was. It was every frat boy guy like myself out there, pictures of you doing a keg stand or, down in a beer or something like that. My original Facebook profile picture was Nick Nolte's mugshot because I just wanted people to have the, that was when it was cool. Maybe it wasn't cool, but I thought it was at the time to create the illusion that I looked like Nick Nolte when he got his mugshot taken, which if you ever seen that one, it's in the Mount Rushmore of mugshots, I must say. That is some hard living that man was up to for that picture. Then you had Twitter. Twitter, when it originally came out, it was actually a good news source, believe it or not. That was, that was cool once upon a time. We'll circle back to that idea about Twitter being a good news source. for me, it was like the original group chats. Because again, once upon a time, we were texting. You can only, I think, have like maybe two people. Actually, I don't think there was group text then. I think you could just send the same text to different people, which I definitely know that there would be the people that would just had a laugh thinking about that. There would be the guys I'd party with who would, or I remember even being at a sorority house one time, and a guy sent three different sisters of this one sorority the text "you up," which you ever text a girl at 2 o'clock in the morning, "you up," you're not really interested if she's awake necessarily, or you want her to be awake. Obviously, let's not go down that rabbit hole. But you at least you weren't just looking to watch a movie. We'll just say when you happen to text the same three girls and they're all in the same room and their phones all go off at the same time and they all start, you're not going to get any replies back then. That was something I witnessed happen one time. True story. But group chatting, I remember I used to be that, I used to literally be able to text. I didn't even have a smartphone. I had Twitter's number saved in my phone. I would text the things I wanted to tweet to it. This would be a way for if I wanted to live stream something I was doing, maybe when I was a less mature guy and I was going out on a first date or something like that, I would maybe throw some comments out there to the fellas how it was going, because my only followers were my friends. Nobody else gave a shit who Ryan Schofield is. Got like 500 and something right now, which is nothing to brag about for how long I've been on there. And to be honest with you, I think most of them are robots or, just, teenage kids over in Asian countries or something like that, or porn bots, which maybe are the same, one and the same thing. But Instagram, when it was, I remember coming about that was the pictures you didn't want everyone on Facebook to see, because once upon a time, those were two independents, and I need to get this fucking paper towel roll out of my hand. It doesn't really go well with the green screen on there. That was okay, cool. This funny thing happened, but I don't want my parents to see it. They're not going to be on Instagram. This was when people started moving away from Facebook a little bit of ways. So you put it on Instagram out there. Now it's all just one connected universe. I don't even know. I don't want to. Basically, the way I go to know what to check is whatever reel I see on one, I send to the friends I have on that particular app. So Facebook and Instagram are kind of all one and the same. Sometimes I'm sending one to the other. Snapchat, that was just never a good idea. I don't want you to know what I'm doing. That's what Snapchat was all about. I had that for a brief period of time. I've deleted that off my phone. That's, let's just put it this way. If people only want to communicate with you being on Snapchat, that's red flag central. And I mean, basically the whole thing with that one is that, let's be real, it was initially called Snatch Chat, which was basically if people sent nude pictures to one another, that was so that you knew if they took a copy of it so you could tell them to delete it. That was my understanding of it. That was where you went to for there. What's really getting dangerous about this is that now all of these things have all, I don't know what goes on in Snapchat anymore, but all of these Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, they're all intertwined now. And people have lost faith in traditional media, or at least I hope that you have, for the most part, I guess I could say. But we're now becoming reliant on social media influencers, which, as much as you maybe, I don't trust traditional media, just blindly following people that have lots of followers on social media when they are doing this thing where they're going to say things to intentionally get you upset and get engagement with them. That is getting dangerous, because now, again, people are now posting things in short form. I used to read full length articles right now. Now you have people where if there's a post that says see more, I doubt many people even click on it. They just read the top portion of it and they read the headline and then they form their conclusion. And most people have been pretty much predisposed as to what they're going to be upset at or not upset at this point in time. I mostly look at these things through three different lenses, or what I kind of take on in social media, because the algorithms are all tailored to what I do. Politics, I'll just say right now, left, right, everyone's out of their goddamn mind. And this is, like I said, it's a recent phenomenon. I mean, let's just say it all started when the Orange Man came along and everyone went crazy, and, we've just gone crazier. Everyone's insane on both sides. I'm just, clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am stuck in the middle. Yeah. Am I encouraged about what's happened this past week? No, it's not. It's not encouraging so far to start off with. Am I going to give it a little bit of time before I, completely, wave the white flag? Yeah, I think I'll give the, a little bit of benefit of the doubt on that one. with news stories on there, because now everything's got to have an angle. I mean, it's like back in the old day with the news. Why do we always talk about the worst possible things? The old saying, if it bleeds, it leads. Now it's just all race. I mean, I'm just gonna just speak as not as much as I can possibly about this one, but the incident in Texas, I guess I'll just refer it as, between Metcalf and Anthony. Those are the last names. I forget the first names of there. I wasn't there. If you're watching this, I guarantee you weren't there. Most everybody was not there. Everybody's got a lot of strong opinions on it, because again, depending on where you come from, there's certain things can help your narrative out a little bit. Nobody knows what happened. I mean, I think that I would like to think that we could say, at the bare minimum, can we all agree that nobody should ever be stabbed at a high school sporting events, especially when they're competing in? And can we just at least nobody should ever lose their life during one of those? That's about as much as I have to say about that topic. What transpired led up to it and all of that, that's for the courts to decide, as far as I'm concerned. The court of public opinion has already made up their mind. And of course, now we have these social media influencers where, again, a great way to if I really felt like stooping so low, if I felt like whoring out my integrity is the way I would call it, I would post something. I could probably doctor it up a little quick little something on here using one of the chat GBTs or some AI thing to make it look like an actual report of some form. And I can make it seem like I have some conclusive evidence or some inside knowledge about something that may have happened in that incident in Texas. It's going to get a response. People are going to start, if you take a side, you are going to get a flood of things from the other side. And then you're going to get a bunch of engagement from that, which is then going to make your post more visible. And then you're going to have everything, the hell breaking loose in the comments. I will say that some of the worst of the internet I have seen has been in the past couple of days regarding that incident. I actually thought about recording this rant well before that one. And that's as much as I want to talk about that incident, but I'm just using that as an actual example. And back to my original premise, I hate that there are things that I do have interest in and I do not have the time to find, but now I've got to find the needles in the haystack. There's probably, as a huge baseball fan, don't have time to sit here and watch all the games. If I had any discipline whatsoever, I would just only follow the people that I follow on Twitter. But again, it occasionally pulls me to the For You, because, every now and again, I might see something I want to investigate. Again, if I see something, an outrageous claim, I do this thing where I kind of research it a little bit. And once it all gets into the algorithm that this is what I'm now looking at, they think that I actually care. And what's funny is I don't care, but because they keep putting it out there, it's just like if you leave a pack of cigarettes around a cigarette smoker, they're going to probably smoke them. It's just what happens. It's nicotine, smoking is probably less harmful than social media. That'll be my bold statement I'll make. No medical science backing that up, whatever. Just a hunch that people that smoke and aren't on social media are happier than people that are on social media that don't smoke. They probably live a healthier life, less mental anguish, less anxiety, I'm sure. I don't know. I mean, that's, one aspect I cover things through. Sports is my old baby, old reliable. The thing that kind of defined me a little bit, the thing that first got me into podcasting was the Scho-Zone. The idea that I would be this one man sports show kind of thing. And hey, I'm this original guy who was at the time just was a dime a dozen guy that hung out at the bar that just watched a bunch of sports and had some thoughts on some things. Guess what? As I've been looking out there, there's a million of these people. And what makes me any better than any of them? I don't know. Maybe if I had the right guests on here, I have the balls to talk to them, or maybe I have a better speaking voice. I don't know. Maybe I look better. I don't know, but we're going to be focused on going on audio soon again. Spotify being probably the big one I go through, although most of my downloads do come through on Apple Podcasts. So please, however you find me, but Apple Podcasts and Spotify, that's going to be where I'm mostly going to promote things from. All the other social medias are on there, but whatever you do best for me. This is mostly just a self-therapy session again, because it is Saturday night. And, once upon a time, say about 4 years ago, even actually 3 years ago, the whole road to sobriety started around 3 years ago. This would have been, I would have gotten out of work. Let's just give you an idea of actually what it would have been like actually. So 3 years ago at this time, what I would have done is, I probably would have woke up with a hangover, but it wouldn't have been a hangover. It would probably be that I probably drank until I couldn't get any more alcohol there would be nowhere more open and I didn't have any left in my house. And then I would probably eventually fall asleep. I would probably wake up, probably not feeling hungover, actually, probably just still being kind of drunk. And then what I would probably do is I would probably have had to work. So what I would have done is I probably would have went and I would have stopped on my way to work. I would have grabbed a cup of coffee and probably two 24-ounce White Claws, maybe, because I didn't in my head they didn't smell as bad on your breath, and some gum and some mints or whatever like that. And then I probably would have drank that 24 ouncer right in the parking lot right then and there. And then I would have sipped my coffee as I got to work and then, thrown my gum, went to work and then, gone about my business and then really just figured out how I was going to find that excuse to go out to my car to drink the other one at some point in time, because that's really what we were at that point in time. And then I would have gone through my stressful day and who knows whether there would have been some more that would have entered into the mix on there. This is how off the rails I was at that point in time. Don't advise that behavior for anybody. It's dangerous. It's, happy to be alive, happy I didn't kill anybody. We'll just leave it at that. And then I would have probably gotten out of this tired day. I might have stopped at a bar for a little bit just to try to, maybe see if there was anything socially happening out there. When it wasn't, I would have probably then done my thing where I would have gone to the store and be like, oh, let's see, do we want to get a 6-pack? Do we want to get a 12-pack? What do we think we need for the rest of the night? Whatever it would have been, it would have been enough. And then we would have just kept going on down the cycle down there. Now I just, have, what I did today? I wandered around the fucking grocery store. That's actually what became one of my replacement activities for the bar, became me wandering around the grocery store. And for a little while there, it used to be that I would just buy $10 worth of random shit because, when you drink like I did, spending $10 after the work at a bar or wherever at a gas station was nothing. I would just walk around the grocery store, grab a little limited food supplies, maybe, run into the occasional person you might know here or there, or engage in a little bit of quick small talk with a stranger. Then I would have sat, then that would have been my nights, walked down there, but we're kind of off the rails again. So yeah, enough about then. We're back to now. And sports, yeah. So sports would be my baby. It was once upon a time. I'm constantly at this war of, have I become a bitter old man and I'm just going to be that guy that things were better when I was my age? Or there's a lot of things that are a lot different now where I could say, I might be onto something. Like right now, there's a college basketball game going on. The Final Four is tonight. I saw that Florida won. I didn't fill out a brackets. I think I went on a rant about that at one point in time about how, brackets mattered when there wasn't legalized gambling. It was an excuse to get down, have some action. Nobody cares now. Now it's, everybody being a sports expert. That was actually one of the things that happened because I was a nerd outside of this. I used to stay up late night, reading all the different articles, browsing all these different stats that nobody really, back when analytics first coming out, I can say things that were different than everybody. Now, all this information is all out there. We all have the same thing. It's now just about how well we process that information. I like to think I can still process the information that's out there, but not swear by it. But sports, it's just this constant war of which era is better. I mean, me personally, I just go on of that. If I used to love watching you and I don't like watching you anymore, it's probably not good for your league. And I could say that really aside from baseball, almost about all of them. And baseball even has its shortcomings with me, but I'll always have a baseball game on if I have the choice to. It's, this, I can always, and now I get the exciting experience of teaching it to somebody who grew up where didn't even know what baseball was. Literally, my fiance watched her first St. Louis Cardinals game with me the other day. As I'm sitting there trying to figure out ways, like she's a PhD, she's got a PhD in her, in her field. I could be a PhD as a baseball fan, I guess I could say. Not like that I'm a baseball savant as far as I could be managing a team or anything like that, but as far as being a baseball fan and knowing what's going on out there, I got to think I'm in at least the top 5 percentile of all baseball fans in the world. Probably more like the 1 percentile, but I don't want to put myself in a lofty category. But I'm willing to say that if you put me in a room with 20 other people, good chance I'm probably going to know more about baseball than most of them. And if I am not the person that knows the most about baseball, then guess what? That's a room I want to be in. I want to learn more about it. I want to talk about it, discuss, not argue like everybody likes to do. Everything's an argument right now. I mean, realistically, am I going to have to spend the rest of my life on this LeBron, Michael Jordan argument? I mean, I've probably even gone on this rant on here before, but it's just like, it's tired. It's played out. It's all that, from what I understand, I haven't watched ESPN in fucking years. It feels like now, but the complaints I keep seeing is that this is still a talking point on ESPN. It's like there used to always be the idea of the day after the baseball all-star game in the summer was always like the worst day for sports radio because there was nothing live to talk about. And you had these generic topics of like the should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame, thoughts on steroids users and stuff of that nature, who would win in a fight, a boxer or an MMA fighter, all these something. We've moved on from all of those. I mean, again, while we have the young crux of people, I mean, that, still have their beliefs with Pete Rose and everything. I've moved on from it. If, I look at it, it would be more disrespectful to put him into the Hall of Fame now that he's dead than it would be when he was alive. That's just my personal take on it. I have no problem with him being, actually, I do have a problem with him being on there. I've read the Dowd report, but I'm not going to revisit all that one. But they are still people making their bones off of the Jordan and LeBron thing. And we'll have the Mahomes and the Brady conversations, and it's just all back and forth. It's just tiring. Like, can anyone just be good at a sport anymore? Can we just ever just appreciate what's happening in front of us right now? Like, I see right now, like I saw a meme today for baseball fans out there, but it was a picture of Aaron Judge and it was Clayton Kershaw, and it just said, name me a face that makes you say, yeah, but the playoffs. And it's like, yeah, people have their weaknesses. There is not a perfect player out there. I can go through any athlete's resume and find something that probably makes them not as good as we perceive them to be. Okay. Well, what kind of way is that to go through life? It's fucking, it's stupid. It's pointless. Now, I don't know. We just don't have the fun. There used to be some fun back and forth on it. Now I'm an old head. Everything gets derogatory. Again, back to the original point of this when I was talking, actually, I do somehow circle back to the points I was trying to make. Now we don't have these conversations in person, where I used to miss a good knock 'em out, drag 'em out, shouting match about sports or whatever like that at a bar where things would seem like they would come to blows. Actually, the last fight I was ever in was actually over a sports argument, but that's whiskey makes you do crazy things. But for the most part, you would just have these little arguments like that. Then eventually, the idea, let's agree to disagree. We'll go back to having our beers and yada yada yada. I'll see you next week. We'll do it again about something else. Those were fun things on there. Now it's just it's a mess. Honestly, even podcasting, because this is something I do. I join these groups on there, and I partially want to mute a little bit of them, but there is the times where I do every now and again see somebody posting out there about, I'm always interested in being a guest on somebody's show, but I don't know if I'm necessarily a draw for anybody. I'm always interested to have guests on here. I will literally have anybody on this show at this point, not because I'm desperate for a guest, but I just like the idea of being able to have a good conversation and let people let their hair down and just put it out there for the world to hear. I had a wonderful conversation with a gentleman named Manny the other day, actually on his podcast on Wednesday. So Manny, if you see this, I'll give you your shout out there. Let me know. He's going to send me over the link for the episode. I'll post it to my Facebook page. Even me, Jason, I'll invite you on right now. Jason, you want me to send you an invite? I'll have you on right about now. We can talk about whatever you want to. Okay. Jason Alexander he's the most frequent guest on here. He's like who was Johnny Carson's number one guest? I forget. Was it Bob? Are you my Bob Uecker? I mean, you are from Milwaukee. We have had Jason on before, but or is just Jason saying even me is as far as I've had him as a guest? Jason's a good guy, but and Jason, yes, I'm the only person watching a baseball game right now, and I've actually probably why I'm losing an audience is because I've been commenting on it. And did that one go over the fence? Nope. Yep, that was a home run. Okay, we're not an idiot again. I am your Bob. Well, I mean, hey, that's it. That there can't be a better comparison for a human being than being the Bob Uecker of something. If you're the Bob Uecker of something, well, maybe backtrack that. You don't want to be the Bob Uecker. I mean, being the Bob Uecker of your baseball team, which is what me and Jason. Who do I got for the Masters, Jason? I don't know a goddamn thing about golf right now. Is it? Scotty Scheffler. We'll just say that one. I think we've reached the point in golf that if you just say Scotty Scheffler is going to win a golf tournament, nobody looks at you like an idiot. So I don't even know. I have golf clubs in my I don't even have them in my trunk right now, and it's springtime right now. That's how little I've gone to care about the game or how little time I have for it. But I digress. But in the podcasting game, I'm just actually thinking back to I was on another episode before. I had this one guy. Now, everybody that's on these podcast forums now, I mean, it makes you really feel really terrible about yourself if you have a small following like me and you don't do anything, because everybody out here is just getting super filthy rich. People I have never heard of have all of these downloads and listens. I'm not going to name the podcast by name on here, but I am going to laugh because I do know right now, I think I still have more subscribers than this channel. But I had this guy that asked me about, or he said he was looking for something. He wanted somebody to talk minor league baseball. If anybody had anything they could talk about that, or he wanted somebody that could talk baseball. And I said, yeah, I'm always down to talk baseball. I was, kind of trying to promote the podcast and whatnot, trying to gain some exposure for myself. This guy was asking me to be an expert on minor league baseball. And I was like, I'm not really an expert. I mean, I lived in Rochester, New York, which is like the minor league capital of, of America for all minor league sports. They love their minor league teams in Rochester. I was like, yeah, that's a little bit. I got a buddy that filmed, that worked as a freelance cameraman in minor league baseball. Yeah, I could probably piece together, if you give me enough time to prepare, I could probably pretend to be an expert. Not exactly my thing to do, to pretend to be something. I just wanted to just, talk and be interesting. And I started messaging with this guy, and he was just going on about like how he had this big giant show, and he was talking about all the behind the scenes drama he had going on in the show. And like, I literally, if I could pull up the chat on here on my phone, I'm sure I deleted it, but it was like, he's just going on about all these books. And like, it's like, it was like he was, if you're a guy before, when I was in my single days, or, I used to always have this whole thing about if you send 3 text messages to, this is even just for if you're talking to a woman. This is even if you're talking to another, just any person talking to a person. If you send 3 messages that go without a response, don't send a 4th. Wait for a response. If their response, if you have sent 3 messages that are all multiple lines in length, and they send you a 4-word reply, that means that person's probably not interested, or that person is trying to just let you acknowledge they went and they want to talk about something different. Guy was going on talking about that, and I was making my feeble attempts. They weren't even feeble after a while, about me to want to talk about something else, or, maybe to even talk about myself for a second, while he was just telling me about a bunch of things about him that I didn't care. But just went through, just constantly was promoting himself and all this stuff. And it was, telling me how wildly successful his show was and everything. And then I went looking at him, and he had like no following whatsoever, which again, I'm not judging for that, but it's the idea he's pretending to, and was talking about all the guests again. Now, this is one of the things that sucks for the podcasting thing, is that when you grow up in upstate New York like this, and especially if you do a sports theme show, we don't have a large drawing base of athletes from the area that I'm from that are on the national scope. If you live in the South, or you live in, especially like in Texas or something like that, there's probably a professional athlete from your hometown. It just seems the way it is. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to in my time communicating with podcasts. They're like, well, we got this guest on. I went to high school with him, or, oh, I was buddies with this guy in college or whatever like that, and he went on to do this. And they'd be able to build a little bit of a following off of that, because it gets a little bit of credibility when you actually have somebody that did it, not some guy like me that just sits here and watches it as, okay, the Guardians are looking to put the steam on here. Ooh, that one's going to hurt. It's a little fastball to the back of the head on the base paths. But, and that was on Stephen Kwan, yeah, okay. Well, he's a ball player. He got up and just ran for it. He'll worry about his head later, I guess. But, anyways, I just eventually was just kind of like, I got to the point where I was like, just watching this guy, the way he was promoting himself on these different podcast pages, and the way that he was just interacting with places, it was just basically him and his buddies talking sports, which again, I don't want to discourage people from doing their own thing. If it's just you and your friends talking or whatever like that, and you guys enjoy doing it, that is totally fine, or whatever like that. I'm going to tell you that it's hard to get people from your outer circle to just want to tune into you. That's a struggle, I can tell you for my own stuff. But this guy, he got the athletic director from fucking Hawaii or something like that on there. All of a sudden, like, he's commenting on when people are talking about their stuff. He's commenting on, oh, well, we were struggling, and then we got a couple million views. We got 1 million views on this one. And I'm like, 1 million views for the fucking athletic director of Hawaii? Are there even 1 million people in Hawaii? I know there's more than 1 million people, but just saying though, I mean, like, really, like, and now I see him out there. He's just doing the begging for followers thing. I mean, I that's why I do the little shtick that I do here. And we got a tie ball game with the like, subscribe, comment, share, all that douchebag stuff that podcast hosts like myself say. I literally just click play on this shit. Don't even, I mean, if you let it play and I get the runtime on it, that's fine. But that's all I really care. Just, if you subscribe to a podcast on your phone and it downloads onto there, If you listen to it, great. If you don't, hey, it makes me look, it just makes me feel good. Okay. Make a little redheaded guy feel good about himself for a change. Okay. God knows that I spend most of my day in a sales role that makes me feel awful about myself. It makes me feel awful when I don't sell anything. I even feel worse when I do sell things sometimes because let's face it. Yeah, let's just rant on that one for a little bit. It's nothing worse than, I mean, it's always been a fear of mine is being, I mean, I don't even know if I'm good at it, but being good at something that you don't like, or being, you become the power of, what's it, the power of five or whatever like that the five people you spend the most time around, you're going to be like the most. You spend your time around miserable salespeople. Eventually you just become a miserable salesperson. And I don't know of a actual legitimately happy salesperson. The ones that are going to lead you to believe that they're happy, those are the ones you really got to watch out for because they are stunningly full of shit. All right. All salespeople are a nightmare. It's really just all about being in their own game. And we really, I mean, everybody's trying to do the least and get the most out of it. Salespeople, they take that to a whole nother level because in many cases, we are just glorified store clerks. We're store clerks that know some good, that can speak well and, put a smile on their face and you can wear a tie or whatever it may be. But most people really, they know what they want. You're just in the way of getting it. And I mean, there's nothing worse when they're like, I don't shy from the fact that I work on commission, but the idea that people are like, like that they know that they can hold that commission over you, it's just an awful way of living. But it's what I've done to take care of myself for the last like decade or so. And, at this point, turned 40 a little bit, do I want to start from scratch again? Well, I mean, that's where the podcast came out. I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just sell myself because I actually like myself. I do like this as a product, but what have I done? I've just shitted myself a bunch of this. This is what I do. This is my show. This is the Scho-Zone, and social media is bad. I think we should all just, collectively delete it, but we can't. We're all addicted. It's a sickness that we all have. It's not going away. It's only getting worse. And, yeah, honestly, like, at the rate things are going, I mean, I just, the idea of, I saw a meme the other day that I sent to my fiance, and I really have is that, it was something along the lines. And I mean, that's the real sign of love. You and your fiance or you and your significant other, that's like, you got to keep back and forth with those reels and the memes and all those things. Cause they really are important. I mean, it is a greater way of like, some people say things better than I can say them myself, so they go out there, but there was something about like when a person means the world to you or something along those lines that, you just want to tune out the rest of the outside world on there. I'm really just, if I was just somewhere where the food was taken care of, the clothes were washed, the cupboard was full, the shower was running and all that stuff. If I was just there hanging out with my wife, soon to be wife, with the cable connection, just sitting there making each other laugh and all the things we do, making each other feel good about ourselves, that would be a fine life. I don't know if I need much more out of this one. Maybe I talked with her a little before we went on here. We may actually have her on here. We may actually go through the Scho-Zone love story. Now, I am somebody that I have no shame in putting anything out there. It's actually one of the things that she does respect about me is that I'm an honest and transparent person. It's not that she's not honest and transparent. It's just that I don't think that she sees the need for everyone to know as much about her as I do. But me, I never really had a filter growing up. I just always said things what came to my mind and just hope for the best of it. And that's what I'm going to do right now. So everybody, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, comment, share, all that douchebag stuff the podcast hosts like myself say. And once I am officially married and once I am finally settled in and I have an office, an actual studio room on there, and I have a more consistent schedule, I will get back to trying to do some things. But this was more as much for me as it was for you. But if you did tune in, like, subscribe, comment, share, all that douchebag stuff the podcast hosts like myself say. Thank you for tuning in for this episode of the Scho-Zone. Now let's hope I keep all of my subscribers.